we're trying to keep the time limit to a reasonable time limit. So I want to introduce our high school principal, Mr. Ken Costa. Ken has been doing a tremendous amount of work on a project that we call the Futuring Project for Panico High School. It's a long-term project that allows us to do a variety of different things, evaluate what we have, project what we need, and kind of build towards what we think the future is going to look like for our students. It also allows us to project out costs. It allows us to identify areas of strengths and areas that we need to improve on. And I just want to congratulate Ken on the work that he's done in consultation with us at Central Office, with the directors and chairs, as well as his APs at the high school. So, Mr. Costa. Again, this is a lengthy presentation, so we could, if you can pencil in your questions, and when we get to the end, we can go through.
So no teachers were involved in his vision?
I'll let him speak to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Middleman. Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. Dr. Adams, trustees, the cabinet. The Connecticut High School Futuring Project. It is the collaborative efforts of not only directors, the assistant principal, central office, and under the guidance of Deb Murphy, who I really appreciate the time to come with them. We've come up with some significant, I don't use the word changes, but processes and a project that we feel is going to move the high school in a different direction. Through our conversations with Deb, the directors, our assistant principals, we come up with a simple mantra we get effective. We build futures. That's what we're here for in the high school. We're here to prepare our students to be 21st century learners. 21st century skills generally refer to certain core competencies. Some of those core competencies that we want to instill in our students and make sure that they receive are communication skills, collaboration and teamwork, critical thinking skills, creativity, problem solving, cultural awareness. I don't have to read through the entire list, but I will have to say one thing. After listening to Ms. Poppy's presentation as the high school principal, I'm honestly truly excited of all the work that's being done from Christina and the teachers and the staff to get the literacy and the mathematics and all the other components in a different direction. So when they come to us at the high school, they're going to come with these skills. So this whole process that we came together with directors is fully aligned with what they're doing at the elementary and the middle school levels, which after hearing the presentation, I'm even more excited about, to be honest with you. The Futuring overview and the Futuring project, we're looking at certain core and key areas. Looking at current course evaluation, the academy structure, social and emotional learning, community service, and professional development. Now, when we came up with these key areas, we aligned these areas with the 5 pillars of success within the district. Current course evaluation is aligned with the academic literacy, one of the pillars. The academy structure itself, which I'm going to go into in more detail in a moment, is aligned with the career, technical, and financial literacy. The social emotional learning and community service has to deal with the interpersonal literacy. And the professional development, which we're going to go into in our final slide, is also aligned with all 5 of the pillars of success. With Deb Murphy, directors, Mr. Middleman, the assistant principals, we collaboratively came up with our own educational metrics plan for the high school. The educational metrics plan will identify, measure, and validate the following areas of the instructional process for the high school. As in most high schools, we would all love to see an increase in mastery rates, graduation rates, the number of students writing AP exams or taking the AP exams, enrollment in the academy programs, passing rates, growth versus fixed mindset, especially in the ever-changing world. We looked at the growth versus fixed mindset. I saw an interesting video on YouTube, and which was regarding the people versus the educational system. There was an interesting video because the man in the video talks about what education looked like 70 years ago, 100 years ago, and and he had an easel, and on his easel, he had a telephone, one of the first telephones. He said, this is what the telephone looks like. Flips the chart. This is what the modern telephone looks like. As a picture of, the next picture was a picture of the Model T car. This is what automobiles used to look like. Flips it over, modern day car. Picture of a classroom, in the early 1920s. Students in a row raising their hands. This is what early education looks like. Flipped over to the next picture, it was a modern day picture of a classroom. Fixed versus growth mindset. We are looking to educate our students in a different way. We want to prepare our students for that 21st century, as 21st century learners. The growth versus fixed mindset, we also look at interesting data, where we have fuzzy data and hard data. Hard data is easy to come by, that's our state scores, our school report card. The fuzzy data, the things that are almost, I don't want to say the word intangibles, but the fuzzy data are through our conversations, through our observations, through our student surveys. This is how we assess how we're doing as a building with our students. What do we want our students to look like in the future? This past summer, this past August, we had our freshman orientation. We had standing room only in the auditorium for the first time since I've been there, which was fantastic. We had a panel of people speak to the incoming freshmen and their parents. We had one particular student, I shouldn't say his name, but I'm going to do it anyway, Juan Lasso, who was invited to speak at the orientation, almost as a student ambassador. Juan, growing up, faced many challenges in adversities. When he got up and spoke to the students and the parents of the incoming freshmen, I myself was absolutely floored on maturity, how articulate he was, how charismatic he was, how well he spoke to these people to engage them. As a young man, I was inspired, and I would love to see all of our students graduate with not only that confidence, but the maturity and the ability to do the same thing. That's what I call the Lasso effect, and that's one of my visions that I'd like to see all of our students graduate with. Excuse me. Paradigm shift to learning and teaching. To steal Jim Collins' words, going from good to great, I think all of us, in every aspect, we need to believe that our students can achieve more, that they can do more. They can do better on the testing, they can do better in class, they can do better in the community. We all could do more. Excuse me. In order to properly evaluate our courses, we've identified some essential questions. Along with the directors, myself, the assistant principals, these are the key questions or essential questions we need to ask with our course evaluation process. What courses do the students want and need? How do we identify the skills needed for our students to be successful? Do our current courses run sequentially? And scaffold learning to prepare our students for the next level, whether that be college, the workforce, the military. Are there gaps in our curriculum? And if so, how will we fill them? Do our elective and AP courses meet the requirements of the 21st century learners, going back to the 5 pillars of success? Are 21st century skills incorporated into our current curriculum? Are we currently teaching the students and giving them the skills and tools needed to be truly successful in the modern world? And do our courses allow students to achieve those 5 pillars of success?
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Are you committed to doing this right now? Are you doing this right now, or this is something you're going to do next year? Or?
Well, we're in the process of it. I'm going to get into that in a few more slides. The academy structure. Picture yourself in college. You're in college as a liberal studies major. And then as a liberal arts major, you take specific courses, you graduate from that college or university, put into bringing liberal studies. Liberal studies is very similar to our Regents diploma in high school. You take general line of courses, you start with your majors and your certain electives, and you work through and you graduate with a Regents diploma, advanced Regents diploma, without a concentration on it. Now let's go back to college. We're in college, you're a liberal arts major, but you want to do a concentration or a minor in sociology, or social studies, or mathematics, or science. You have that opportunity in college. Currently, in our educational systems, and what we have here at Connecticut, we don't have that opportunity. We go through the motions, and we all graduate with a Regents or advanced Regents diploma. The academy structure that we're creating will afford all students an opportunity to have a different concentration other than that liberal arts program. The creation, evaluation, and enhancement of this academy structure is a three-step process. The first process is exploration. The second is implementation, and the third will be reevaluation. Two forms of academies that we're looking at: non-CTE academies and CTE academies. Each of the academies, we're going to start with the non-CTE, but each of the academies start with initial survey conducted to assess the interests of a program being proposed. In that initial survey, that is a student-driven survey, where the students have an opportunity to comment on what it is they would like, what it is that they want, what it is that they need as far as an academy. For the non-CTE academies, the creation of an academy committee consists of teachers, administrators, and community members, in which the industry leaders hold a key stake in that academy. The structure that we're going to see before you has already been in place, and I have to compliment Brian Frank and Mary Losi for coming up with the actual academy structure and exploration process. The academy committee, their job is to review the survey, to look at the various academies that the Connecticut High School will be conducting, and conduct a yearly review of the academies and suggestions for any necessary changes. They review the current courses that we already offer in the high school. They make recommendations for any change in any course of the high school, as well as implementation of new courses. The Academy Committee also makes the final recommendation whether or not we should or should not create that specific academy. For CTE academies, this is an accredited academy by the state. So in order to create a CTE academy, we have to follow specific state guidelines. But just like the non-CTE academies, it all starts with an initial review for a student survey. Is there a need, is there a want, is there a desire to have this specific academy introduced to the high school as a concentration? The difference between a CTE academy and a non-CTE academy is an internal and external review committee. The internal review committee, very similar to the other one, where it's teachers, administrators, industry leaders, community members. The external review committee are teachers, administrators, industry leaders, and students. The external review, in my opinion, holds much more credence than the initial onset of the first committee. The students have an opportunity to voice their opinions, to see what courses they think would work best in the academy, to see which courses they feel they may need or want to be part of that academy, and then they make the final recommendation to administration whether that academy should or should not run. The implementation, step 2 of the academy process, the implementation process. Present the courses needed to complete the academy. We're going to add new courses and the strands to complete the academy in the course selection guide. Students will all be well aware of the academy structure and what courses they need to participate in the academy. And a course selection process will be used as a measurement for the number of students entering each academy strand. Now, this is a very lengthy process, and it really is an encumbering process, but there's a method to our madness, which we're going to get to in a little while. After each year, there will be a reevaluation of each academy moving forward. We're going to look at how many students are currently enrolled in the academy. What effect does the strand have on similar elective courses? What percentage of students are continuing the academy strand? What we have learned about the benefits and or the limitations about that academy, and what can we anticipate moving forward. So for each academy, every year you have a 3-step process. We'll have the exploration, the implementation, and the reevaluation. Timeline. The academic directors have already begun looking at our current courses. Like the Business Academy and the STEM Academy, which we're going to incorporate next year, the directors have already looked at what's already in place. What current courses can we implement into the academy to create a seamless transition for some of the students who are involved or interested in taking the academy training.
I have a question before.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about the business academy.
Okay.
Say you wanted to build upon it, is that in there, or, because that's the academy that's already there? Say you wanted to build upon it, is that discussed?
Absolutely. In a reevaluation process, every single year, whatever academy is introduced that year, during the reevaluation process, they look at all the courses, what are they missing, what can we improve it, should we add additional courses, should we take courses out, should we include a project, not include a project. So during that reevaluation process that takes place each year, those questions will be asked. So yes, you could build upon it. This current school year, Brian Frank, Mary Losing, and the rest of the directors did the exploration for STEM and Business Academy. Those two academies are already in the course guide for selection for next year. 2017-18 will be the first implementation of those two academies into the high school. We also, next year, will be exploring computer and cybersecurity, and at the end of the school year, we'll do the reevaluation for STEM and business. 2018-2019, we'll do the implementation of the Computer and Cybersecurity Academy and start exploring technical performing arts. Now, just as a caveat, during the exploration process, because an academy is being explored or discussed, it doesn't mean it's going to run. So if you see this timeline, and we have 5 additional years past this current school year, at any given moment, if in 2017-18, the evaluation or exploration process determines that computer and cybersecurity is not of interest to the students, is not going to be recommended, that specific academy will not be in the school year.
So wouldn't it be easier just to take a survey of the kids ahead of time and narrow down the 4? Instead of exploring this, okay, that's not gonna work, okay, explore this, it's not gonna work. Have you tried maybe surveying the kids and seeing what they want and geared towards what they want?
That's what we did.
That's what we
Oh, because all kids were surveyed?
We did a survey last year for this current school.
So all kids in the high school were surveyed?
I think they were surveyed through their social
Social
studies
studies classes.
Okay, so that information was gathered to...
That's-
Yes,
that's how-
this information was gathered when we got from the students.
And that's where the exploration phase comes in.
So the kids chose this?
It's the identification of the need and want from the students, and then the process begins from there.
Okay.
So moving forward in 2019, we will start exploring communication and digital media, 2021, foreign language and international studies, 21-22 is exploration of construction systems. So each year, there will be the exploration process, implementation, and reevaluation for every academy moving forward. And it is a very rigorous process. I think it is beneficial for our students to have that concentration. In addition to our academy structure, we like to incorporate a service credit. Young Leader Service Credit, which is a community-based service credit for participation out in the community. Each student would have to acquire a minimum of 10 hours of community service per year. What does this look like? The class of 2018, which is this coming school year, they would have to obtain 10 hours of community service in order to meet the graduation requirement from Connecticut High School.
Could you ask a question?
Yes,
That's 2,000 kids,
I'm sorry.
2,000 students,
Yes,
and they each have to have 10 units of community
service.
service
per year.
for a year. That's a lot of community
Well,
service.
I think when, and I hate to cut you off, and I'm sure this will,
This
if you look at the implementation piece and the focus, it may clarify some of those questions.
Yeah, guys, so you have 3 credits for this and 3 credits for that.
So I'll
See,
let-
that's a
I'll let
lot
Mr.
of-
Cox-
We're going to get to that.
All right, I'm jumping, okay.
Yeah.
So for class of 2019, which is our current junior, they're looking at 20 units of credit of community service. 2020, 30, and our current freshmen coming in this year, going to graduate from Connecticut High School, they would have completed 40 hours of community service to meet their graduation requirement. Now, how do the students earn a service credit? Now, I set up 2 examples for 9th and 10th grade students, and then you go to 11th grade and 12th grade next. For a 9th and 10th grade student, they can earn 1 credit up to a maximum of 3 credits for belonging to an athletic team, club, musical theatrical association, or an officer of student government. So for example, I belong to all of those things. I'm a free sport athlete, I'm in the play, I'm in the student government, I do a lot in school. I'm going to earn 3 hours towards my community service credit. The remaining 7 hours,
If they do all that stuff that you said, they don't have time for community service other than the 3 hours.
Exactly, no
Giving
time.
them.
no, they do.
7 more
They
hours.
absolutely do.
7 more hours over the course of the whole year. they absolutely
It's
do.
one Saturday.
Yeah,
It's
take
one
a
Saturday.
break leave for an hour.
Absolutely do.
Yeah, and making leaves has to be approved, so you can't just sit there.
We're gonna get to all those, we'll answer all those questions
I
on
just have
Thursday.
one big question. Did you talk to our community stakeholders about this? Because, I mean, are parents on board with this?
We're gonna get into that soon.
Well, I was thinking something.
It won't be approved. You can shovel in my lawn, but if you say it's an approval, then it doesn't matter.
We're gonna get to that. So, the remaining 7 hours for a 9th and 10th grader have to be earned in the school. Okay, school service such as attending the zombie walk, safe Halloween, habitat build, etc. It has to be within the school
So they're
structure.
gonna participate in school, which is
Correct.
cool.
So the 9th and 10th graders have to be vested into the school and into our programs.
And obviously, you know, I'm sorry to interject, but this is definitely something that needs to be vetted out and discussed more thoroughly with a larger group of stakeholders, you know, parents and teachers.
Parents.
That's what I'm saying. So was this shared with parents?
We're
or-
sharing it with the board first, all right? So that's the intent, is to present it to the board, to see what the board feels about the presentation, and whether this is something we want to invest our time in. But I think when you look at the way it's designed, you know, I think each of us believe that 9th and 10th graders, that sense of relatedness to the school community is so important. And making sure that they're invested in their school as a 9th grader, locking them in, not only shows better for attendance and discipline issues, but also for, you know, for student performance. And I
If you're
think,
speaking for 500 kids, the same, give an example of 9th grade, you're speaking for those 500 kids, that's what they want to do. Like my daughter,
But the
that's not what she wants to do.
right, but again, we go back to the research that states that kids who are committed to their school community, who are invested and feel like a part of the school community, will do better academically. And of course,
But doesn't
you know, this
apply,
is something that
but
we're
that
gonna
doesn't
have to.
apply in all cases though. Some kids are just introverted and
There's
they,
a tremendous amount of research that supports
Well,
students' sense of relatedness to the school community and student performance.
I'm not saying that's not a factor, but I'm just saying that's not every child's profile. There are some kids that just don't, do academically well, but don't want to be involved.
Right, but again, we're looking at the entire, you know, grade level. And, you know, obviously there will be individual situations that we're gonna come across.
Like a kid has an IEP
can't
or
make
a
a
Bible
requirement.
course, you're expecting all of them to do 10 hours of community service.
Well, I think that's why we're making this presentation, to kind of get the feedback from the board, before we move forward and kind of move in that direction. But it's something that, you know, Ken and his team believe strongly in both getting students involved in their school community, as well as the larger community.
Whose original idea was this?
Whose original? I think it came from, I can't remember which school.
Actually, many schools in Suffolk County do have this, Comac being one of them, Northport does one. This came up in many discussions,
Required.
just
So
with
this
us
came
and
from
our,
the steering committee?
No, this is one of the things that we've been discussing in some of the goals that you folks have. I know we took, when we look at the clubs that we have and how undersubscribed they are. So one of the things we want to do is make sure that kids have clubs that they're interested in, and that we're gonna have 25, 35, 45 kids in a club rather than 4. So one of the things that we're looking at.
That's the thing that the survey should be done, what clubs the kids would like.
Agreed, and if this goes forward, one of the things we need to do for kids is say, you know what, you can earn some of your points towards your
I know,
clubs
I
and
know
club
that.
membership. And that's, we're trying to build that involvement in the school, and,
Well, and involving would start with the kids and ask them what kind of clubs they want to
yeah,
do.
absolutely.
So I did something I didn't want to do. I hijacked this presentation. I apologize, and I interrupted, so I'll let you finish.
That's okay.
I'll read it.
I keep on, as Dean pointed out, this is our project, this is our plan. Obviously, everything we discussed today is up for discussion. There's committee-based, student-based. These are the examples for 9th and 10th grade. This is not written in stone, that's why it's an example. Same with the 11th and 12th grade example. The difference between the 9th and 10th grade community service project is community and school. For the upperclassmen, you want to see more community involvement. You want to see the first bullet is the same, 1 credit up to maximum 3. The second bullet is different in the fact that it's all community based. It's outside the school. And they can maybe, excuse me, they can volunteer with the American Cancer Society, an assisted living facility, the VA hospital. They can coach, they can do clinics. They can do something outside the school to represent us. So they're getting experience inside for 2 years, experience outside.
Maybe civic. I'm just naming stuff as we're talking about.
Civics, Rotary, there's a million things that our students could do.
Is this aside from what they already do?
We're not gonna take comments from the audience at this point, so let Mr. Costa finish and then we'll go to the deep dive.
Okay, and remember, this is the proposal. This is what we're doing tomorrow. This is a proposal, this is the discussion. Young Leaders Service Credit Liaison. One of the things that we need to discuss in the is who is going to monitor 1,975 students every single year. One of the things that we're proposing, and we would definitely love to discuss with the Board of Education, is creating a Young Leaders Service Credit Liaison. A person who is, say, a teacher on special assignment, who will monitor all the students' progress, keep track of what they do, ensure the students' experience are meeting our standards of the high school, create a database to track and monitor community service hours for all students, participate in the establishment of the criteria for community service, serve as a liaison between not only the school building, but the community as well, verify the students' community service hours, and contact and inform parents, guardians of students' progress. If Kenny's neglect on his opportunity to do his community service hours, this person will be contacted by the parents to say, it's now March, we've had 1 hour community service, we need to get on the ball. Okay, so this person, whoever that may be, will be that liaison between the school, the community, and for the students. Obviously, this is something that we will discuss with the Board of Education at a later date.
Could you work with the town also on this?
I'm sorry?
Work with the town also?
Would be? Yes, absolutely. That liaison would be that person. To work with the towns, work with the civics, work with different businesses, the business associations. They would go out there and make the contacts. They would do the creation of the contacts. They would say, okay, this Lee Kennedy, I have a spot for you if you're interested at the Arboretum. We could do 2 hours of planting on Saturday. Are you interested? Yes. If you go there, I know the person next on the liaison. We communicate with one of them, Lee Kennedy. She'll be there on Saturday at 9 o'clock. You go there, you receive your letter, you bring it back to me, I file it, I record it, and you're good to go. That would be part of the process of the liaison. Moving forward to the Futuring project, the next step obviously is going to be our professional development. First thing we want to do is through collaboration and exploration with our staff. We'd like to examine different ways where we are align the staff with common vision, encourage new methods of instruction, explore differentiated assessment techniques, integrate technology into our current curriculum, support our staff to integrate new concepts and educational ideologies, and foster collegiality amongst the staff and students. Now, all of these concepts for our professional development are completely aligned with 21st century learners and the 5 pillars of success. And whatever we decide to do with our professional development, each course, each session, each professional development, we will try to align with any one of these concepts plus the 5 pillars. And it's all geared on that 21st century figure. In summary, this entire process of the Futuring project is a fluid process. It is a living process. Okay, this isn't something that happens overnight. This isn't something that happens next year. It is an ongoing process. And over the next few years, we would like to see, we would like to foster the importance of community service, collaboration, initiative, and the social emotional needs of all of our students moving into the 21st century. That's our Futuring project.
Thanks a lot.
Good job.
I got a few for you. I'm going to use Honor Society as an example.
Okay.
How many of your students that is grade-wise eligible for Honor Society, but that doesn't do it because of the community piece, community hours?
How many are eligible? Honestly,
They
I
have
would
the
choose not to
grades.
because of,
Of community service.
I couldn't get it done.
That's a good place to start. The other
But
place.
I got a question for you though. Now, we have the students who we would like to see do community service.
Well,
Any
the
more?
point of my story is you have children, and I know a few, because I was actually shocked by some of the kids who are not in Honor Society, and my question to them was, why aren't you in Honor Society? I don't want to do the community service. Like they'll choose to come out of, but again, so you're forcing kids, 1975 kids, but here's Honor Society, and I believe they could put on their transcript, and they don't want to do it. So, I mean, you know, so it's just a question that I have, and
Can I interrupt you for one second? These were kids who made a choice not to enter, or these were kids who entered and that didn't meet the requirement?
no,
of
they
the
chose
rules?
not to bother.
They chose not to.
Chose not to bother. I was shocked by a lot of kids that
So,
are not in it.
I'm gonna piggyback on this a minute. So say we do implement the community service piece. Now those kids are automatically qualified for the Honor Society.
But now they're forced into it.
I think the community service piece is a great idea. You're probably gonna have to do some homework with the kids to figure out what it is for those kids who aren't in the sports and aren't in the clubs, what it is that they wanna do for your school. And once you provide them with what they wanna do, they probably won't stop doing it. And the hours will just accumulate. That's gonna be the work. You're gonna have to figure out for that small population of kids who aren't in the musicals, who aren't in athletics, who aren't in the clubs, what is it that you wanna do for our school? And ask them, and then provide them that opportunity. And then they'll keep doing it.
What about the kids that gotta
So
work?
my other question is, I know last year there was a couple of parents that came up to me and said that they had to go through the appeal process for the Honor Society because some of their hours did not qualify for community service. So just use that as a backdrop. What I'm concerned about is if you're gonna put this as a pillar for graduation, they have to have 40 credits of this to graduate. Are we gonna start having a problem, kids not graduating because they fulfill these community service hours?
Yes.
I don't foresee that as being a problem because the community service liaison is gonna help in the creation of what community service hours are. It'll be spelled out and be very clear and
All right, so how
specific.
many appeals do you have for Honor Society because they didn't fit the criteria for community service? You have quite a few. So that was my other question. One of the things.
Well, I gotta go back to that for a minute. Part of the reason why they're appealed because, and I sat on that committee and I've listened to many appeals. On the form for the National Honor Society, it's very clear on what is and what is not community service.
Right.
And for a lot of students that didn't make the grade, so to speak, for their hours, they met with the National Honor Society advisors prior to going to the committee to go over their hours. And a lot of those students were told very specifically, you need a letter for this, you need a letter for that, this letter doesn't count. And I would be honest to say that more than 50% of those kids didn't do what they were supposed to do to meet the requirement. So the requirement is very clear on what the requirement is for National Honor Society. And then after listening to the appeals, speaking with the two advisors for the National Honor Society, and meeting with a lot of those students, the truth is they failed to do what they were supposed to do. They attempted to do the hours, and when they were told what to do to correct it, they didn't follow through.
So then how is this gonna be any different for graduation?
Hopefully the community service liaison will be on top of it
So
early.
you're putting the stress of 1,975 kids on this one person. I mean, that sounds pretty
And the
stressful.
parents, because they could
It's
be
really on the
contacted.
parents and the
Yeah, and then also
students.
too, you're putting this stress on parents. So now if I have 3 kids in the district, that means I gotta get them 30 hours every year of driving them
No.
to 10 different places.
You don't have to get them. This is what we're trying to do. They have to get it. We're trying to break that mold. It's not your responsibility. It's your responsibility to make sure that your child does the hours. It's your responsibility to make sure your child takes the initiative to get it done. And as parents, and I'm a parent also, it's my responsibility to make sure my child is doing what she's supposed to be doing, just to stay on top of it. But she has to take the initiative to get it done.
And they don't.
She has to do it. I don't have to sit there and do it.
So that's what I'm saying. So if I have 2 kids in high school, that's 20 hours I have to drive them somewhere.
In 180 days.
Yeah, and I'm only, say I only have 2 kids, why don't you have people that have 3 kids?
Some have
who's,
5,
there's
6,
who's
7
got
kids.
sports involved in it, got other things involved in it. Now you're putting another responsibility on the parents, because now they have to divert their kids to these different community service. So don't forget, this is not the only focus in your life.
So
You know.
it's definitely something, obviously, this is a topic that we need to further go through and further clarify, so we will definitely set up time to.
And
Yeah,
I think
took
a lot,
place in the
of
school
the
as well, so
activities
it's-
will be after-school activities.
Right.
So when we have clubs that put together hundreds and hundreds of baskets for Thanksgiving this year for needy families, instead of having our YFS workers be solely responsible for that and our PTA folks be responsible for that, it would be great to have kids be responsible for that. So we would keep kids after school and send them home on the 415 bus. So I don't think it really becomes something that is an overwhelming responsibility of the parent. It's really the responsibility of the school to figure out things that can help kids make those hours and make it so that it's not that difficult to get. If you give 3 hours for the clubs and the sports and then say 2 hours for awareness weekend, I'm halfway done, it's not even November. So, if I look at a 9th grader and I look at the things that, the zombie walk is this weekend, you get a 3K around the building, you get to give $5 to the CFAC, and you've done another 2 hours. So I don't think it's gonna be an overwhelming responsibility. This was put in place when I was in Santa Mauritius. We did not have one child, granted, smaller school district, but we put an English teacher in charge of it as an extra stipend, and she made sure everybody had what they needed to get their graduation requirements. Comac has been doing this for 20 plus years, never had a child not graduate due to these few hours, and they have more hours that they have to do. So I think it's something
They're a
that
large school.
it's really, and they're an amazing school district. So I think it's something that the time is here to do these kind of things. I think we need to formalize it more as a school district, because I think we have a lot of kids doing great things and aren't really getting the credit for it that they deserve. So we want to fill our clubs, we want to fill our sports, we want to make the connections between our outside organizations and our young
How do you
athletes.
fill your sports when you have kids getting cut on the teams? So you're not necessarily filling your sports.
Well, they could go be coaches and play in outside leagues. So there are many things that kids can do. If they didn't make a team, they can go help coach a little league team. So there are things that kids can do that would keep them busy off the street and helping our community.
When did they do their homework?
When you first were speaking, Mr. Costa, you mentioned administrators, you mentioned central office, but what was your teachers' involvement or input in this vision?
In Division High School,
Yeah, in this presentation, what was their feedback, what were their thoughts on this?
the feedback came from the directors who meet with each teacher at the high school, not each individually, as departments.
So the
And we
teachers
get the
help,
feed-
help.
Let me rephrase it. The directors, when they meet with their departments, we meet every 2 weeks as a building leadership team, with the assistant principals and the directors. This has been an ongoing thing for the past year and a half, discussions relating to the future project, where do we want to see the high school go? Keep in mind, I've been in the position now for a year and a half. So last year, there was a lot of discussions, this year, a lot of discussions. We're starting finally to formulate some plans to move the building in a different direction moving forward. The conversations take place during their departmental meetings with their individual departments on a myriad of things. So when they come back to me, the discussion is, what is it your department wants? What are you looking for? What do we need for the building? So to answer the question, do I have any conversations like this with the teacher regarding this? The answer is no. The department and the directors have those conversations, and during our meetings, that's what's relayed back
So
to
then
me.
they would have the
When we
teachers buy
formulate-
into this, they have the teachers buy into this
I'm sorry?
vision. So they have the
They have not
teachers.
seen this. This is for you right now for the Board of Education.
No, I'm not saying the teachers, I'm saying so your admins.
My
have-
directors,
Yeah, your
my
director,
the district director, I should say.
okay.
Yes.
The people that you say you have conversations with people every 2 weeks. So
Yes.
those people that you speak to, they have the buy-in from the teachers. And then they came to you, your admins
Yes.
came to you.
To
Okay.
answer your question. Well, the buy-in from the teachers is not, they haven't seen this presentation. The buy-in from
Well,
the
the
teachers.
buy-in, I would think is a collective resources from those teachers.
Let me explain. The conversation in the department meetings, the tone, the tenor, the wants, the needs, the desires that come out from those meetings with the directors and their departments, is what help formulate this project. So did they articulate exactly what's in here for the directors? The answer is no. This is what comes from their meetings to our meeting. And the conversation is about education. The conversation is about how do we move it forward. How do we make it better? How do we go from that mediocrity or just good to great? So those conversations inspire this conversation. And from those conversations, we formulated this plan. The academy structure came from the survey. The different academies came from conversations with the directors who are in direct contact with the teaching staff. So conceptually, without even really saying, yes, I'm on board, these concepts come from the building. These concepts come from the students. These aren't mine, I just pulled out of the air. This is based on a year and a half of discussion with the directors, with the assistant principals, with the staff members, and their departments. So that's where this information and this process came from.
I have a question.
Yes.
In terms of the medical field, I know we had added some classes on a while ago, but it really is not an academy. Would that be considered something we would consider making into an academy?
We would consider anything that the students and the staff wants.
Would
If
it
there is
say
a want and need for the medical academy, the answer is a possibility. Because, you know, if you think about the medical academy, first thing you have to do is have Mary Losing, Ms. Losing, Dr. Losing, look at our current courses. What do we currently have in place that would fit into a medical academy?
We have some.
And then we look at the holes. What do we need to complete a medical academy or a concentration on the medical field? Then we look at staffing and need. So there is a possibility, absolutely. And again, something like that can be initiated through the exploration process.
So one of the slides you had touched on, and it was, to sum it up, is to gather the data. But it seems like for years we're gathering data. So the data, and I guess it's more a question to you, Linda. So all the data that we've gathered all these years, is this just another attempt to gather data that really goes nowhere?
Integration piece.
No, the metrics, that's the evidence of success.
I can hear none of them.
And that's something that we consistently look at to measure the progress of the different areas that we're focusing on.
Right, so what data, what specific data are you looking now that will change the course and make us good to great, as Mr. Costa had mentioned?
In that one slide, the educational metrics. So these are the
So
metrics.
that's something new that we haven't done before.
Okay.
We haven't done it aligned to a vision of where the district is going. We've done it aligned to student
I
performance,
didn't think I was gonna
but not in consultation with the scope and sequence, the skills that students are coming in with, and the skills that they're moving with. So that's where we're measuring each of those pieces.
Because I'm concerned all this information is gathered, and I've been hearing for years, we're gathering data, it's gonna improve the district, we're gonna move forward.
But we're
But
consistent.
I don't know, how do I actually see with that information that was collected, where do I see it today? You know, like, how do you?
We use data all the time. We use it whether it's a first grade classroom in idle hour that's using a different model of instruction to integrate a tier 1 support for students. So it's used a variety of different ways depending on the intention of what we're looking for.
So then the concept is changing this time, so to speak.
Well, every time you put something into place, you need metrics to measure its
I understand
success.
that.
So every time we put something into place, whether it be our literacy initiative or our math initiative, we have metrics that we've established. Sometimes we talk about them, sometimes we don't. But one of the goals that we have is the transparency piece. When we're laying out a multi-year plan for you, we want to say to you that these are the metrics we're using to look at our effectiveness. And if we don't meet those, then we're not doing what we said we were doing. So that's our intent.
I guess I'll get a little more defined in my question. All right, so I think one of the slides I saw, you want to increase AP. So what percentage of students are we at now with AP, and what percentage of students would you like to see in the next year or two?
Well, we can get you that data.
Because that's the things, because I'm a math head, so that's how I
So we can
centralize stuff.
actually get you all of the granular data that you need in order to kind of see where we are. And we'll definitely provide that for you so that you can see the starting.
That's how I really
Isn't
look at it.
what this all about, gathering that data and figuring that out? This is a concept of what your intentions are, so is that part of the plan, is gathering all that data and figuring out where we're at, where we're going, what we're gonna do to increase that, from what I see.
And that's the process we've been through this year is what's the baseline that we're starting.
And I mentioned earlier about the fuzzy data. Fuzzy data is kind of like what the meetings that we had before. Gather that information as far as the conversations, the observations. The fuzzy data is what we gathered during our high school educational team meetings. That's all the data that helped put this together. The hard data is what he was alluding to, the things you can actually measure, state assessments, school scores, things of that nature.
Well, yes, that's my concern is, and I've been hearing it through the years, and I'll give you a prime example, how we're gonna get more involvement, more kids taking AP tests, AP classes. Been hearing this for years,
Well, can I tell you how we're using the data real quick? I'm gonna go back to the fuzzy data.
so I just
The
wanna know
fuzzy
what.
data created this. So you're asking me, we're looking at all this data and all the things. The fuzzy data created the featuring project. Well, it's all the conversations, it's the observations, evaluation. That data actually helped formulate and create the featuring project. So if you ask how we actually use data to move forward, that's a great example of how we're moving forward by using data.
Okay, and that's my question, I've been hearing for years, we're gonna get more kids taking AP.
So
Has that number increased over the years, or is it something?
It has slowly increased in certain areas, and now with the addition over the past year and a half with the directors, it's more intentional of what we're doing. And we share the AP results with you on
Yes.
a yearly basis, the participation rates. We made some changes, so we looked at participation rates in AP exams. We made a change at the high school. Mr. Costa and his team made a change with regards to the AP designation for courses and what the requirements are.
A biggie that we lost chemistry, we're doing chemistry every other year. Will we ever get back on course where we're gonna have chemistry every year, AP?
Let me answer the first question. So we're looking at that data, and that made a significant change in the way that the designation is going. So they made that change. So now we're going to see this year the impact of that implementation. So the data will be an increased rate. With regards to the courses that we're offering, going back to Mr. Costa's initial slide about the course evaluations, each of our department directors have gone through a lengthy course evaluation of each of their courses and what are the sequences that are aligned to this, and to see what are the obstacles that are causing kids to make different choices. And we feel, based upon the recommendation that Dr. Losing made to Mr. Costa, that the changes they made within the science curriculum, the pathway, and sequence, will hopefully alleviate the issue that we had this year.
Yeah, because that was disheartening to not,
And that's, our goal is to increase that participation, and there's a lot of different factors that go into it. One of the things that we identified was the sequence was a challenge.
There was unintended consequence also to the AP changing physics
Yeah,
for 2 years.
we wanna be competitive, but we're dropping classes.
Well,
so-
but you know what, Madeline, there was an unintended consequence from the AP board, the college board, actually changing physics from an ABBC, which you could have done in 1 year, to Physics 1 and Physics 2.
Well, my
so-
son's doing physics 2 years.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, they changed that.
So
So
is
where-
physics normally 1 year and then they change it to
It was
2?
1 year, you could have taken Physics AB or Physics BC, and that was a 1-year course. And then they would move on to a different AP course, and the AP changed that because they felt that the curriculum was too rich and rigorous and deep, and they gave they do Physics 1 and Physics 2 now. So there was another unintended consequences that we had nothing to do with, because your son might have taken Chem AP as his
He's
final.
never approached, that's what I want to see.
Well, but he's in physics, he's in the second year of physics, where if he took Physics BC last year, he might have taken Chem this year. And so the AP changed that for a lot of schools as well. So these are things that they come to our attention by looking at the data and digging deep into the curriculum to make sure that there are no roadblocks in the curriculum to stop kids from moving forward to more challenging rigorous courses. And sometimes we need to create rigor in the underclassmen courses to say to kids, you've challenged this, you've done great, now move on to the next level. And so all of that's being done by the departments right now.
Okay, so now I saw on one of the slides that the intent is to evaluate programs. Anything specific aside from the academies? Is it like an IB or an AP capstone?
The first initial project that Mr. Costa and his team undertook was looking at each of the individual departments. The next piece is they did go out on a visitation to Hewlett-Woodmere to do a visit to an AP capstone. We're in the process of setting up an IB visit to Comac.
Can the board be invited to that?
similar to, we invited the board to the AP
Yeah,
Cast as
I
well.
couldn't make that, but
But we could definitely, we'll of course extend an invitation for the IP.
thank you. And I'm sorry, one last question. On the final recommendations approval for the external committees, so I see here that you have teachers, administrator, industry leaders and students. How come the community is not part of the external review? And what impact does the industry leaders have on this piece?
This is also based off the business model. And part of this process, and again, this is a living process. If there is something wrong with this that we need to read out, we're going to do so. This was the business model that Brian Frank and Ray Lawson used to do the exploration process for the STEM and the Business Academy. So
Okay.
we're following a very similar process moving forward. Of course, if there's anything here that we need to tweak or change, absolutely.
That was mandated by the state. In order
Well-
to become CTE certified, having industry leaders come and look at your curriculum, and that's why the Business Advisory Committee was so instrumental.
Do they have curriculum experience or do they have educational experience to have an impact on this?
No, but they know what they need in entry-level business folks, and that's why the state is asking, was requiring that.
But for a non-CTE course, we don't necessarily need to be,
Doesn't need to be required.
it's not required.
Right,
We incorporate it, it's not required.
my only question, back to the question is,
Lee, please put your microphone on.
can we put some money in the budget for new ones?
Yes, please, we have $15 million. Right?
This is a shame, why do we?
Maybe we could buy some
Anyway,
batteries.
my question is, during the steering committee, we were talking about different academies, cooking, the medical, which I think is probably something that is a good profession for many students, all different types of medical, and I know, there are courses up there. When do you start looking at, when do you start doing this process? Will it be this year or next year? Or to build upon the business thing that's been around for a while, but it never really been built on? What is the process? I'm just curious.
The process, if we go back to the timeline slide, the presentation. For this year, the exploration took place for business and STEM, this current school year. Those two academies are currently in the course selection guide for 2018, 17, 18. Excuse me. Next year in 17-18, we start the exploration for computer and cybersecurity. So the exploration process for that, the student surveys, the committees, the exploration of what we currently have, what we need to offer to make it whole, is it worth running kind of thing. That takes place next year.
You're gonna do what next year?
Next year we're doing, it is a very large task. It is, it's a very tedious, very time-consuming endeavor to make sure it's done correctly. The difference between some of the academies that you're talking about, oncology, cooking, some of the things that we discussed at the steering committee, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that's in lieu of a BOCES placement. So we have those kids come here and earn that same accreditation that they would at BOCES.
I didn't think it
Current-
was that way, but go ahead.
But the current academy structure here is an accreditation on your transcript and maybe a possibility of a diploma. So you're not being, unless you're taking a CTE certified course, you're not being certified by the state. So for example, if we did a cosmetology academy, we wouldn't hold the same weight as a BOCES placement.
I didn't think we were comparing ourselves, so we would be using BOCES necessarily. I thought, because we had a person, part of it was talking about nursing and how much money we make in that field and how important that field is. And then we looked to see what courses we had. And we have some pretty strong courses, which really could be part of probably, I would think, a CTE academy. That's already there.
It could be.
It's there. They're pretty good courses. And we have those right in place. To build upon that, because we have it already, would be great. Building a business, we've had that for a number of years now, but we've never built onto it.
Correct.
So, there's the advertising model, there's many other models that you could add to that, but it was never built on. So rather than continue on with new models, why don't we finish the models we have, what we have in there, only making a suggestion, I can be all wrong. But, you know, we have some of those courses already in place, and to build upon them might be a lot easier than to start new, even though I think technology is definitely important in today's day and age.
Well, when Linda first brought the academy size, the first question I asked her was how much, and you told me
How much what?
how much would cost to start an academy, and you told me how much it would be.
It depends,
Well,
because,
you originally told me $0.
well, this business academy is $0.
Right.
Most of the academies that we're looking at are absolutely $0. When you start looking at a culinary, where you are supplanting from
Well, no,
BOCES,
I'm piggybacking off of Lee.
Yeah.
That would cost us $0, so why wouldn't we want to start there?
Well,
There's
that's
a
what
lot
we're
of
doing.
kids that do want on the nursing or medical profession.
Well, I think that was part of the STEM idea. That we would begin with a STEM, almost like a general arts STEM, general science STEM, and then build academies off of that base.
Would you work with a science research, or that's a separate entity?
Maybe, I mean,
Science research is part of STEM Academy.
part of STEM.
It's
So
a
then you would
four-year
be building
sequence.
off of science research.
For something like nursing.
No, she was referencing the STEM. So what time would you,
Science research is part of the STEM Academy.
right, so that's what I'm saying, would you be building upon science research to enhance your STEM program?
No, the STEM curriculum is already outlined by Mary Losing, and that's going to be a reevaluation. They need to add additional courses or lose courses. The STEM program is a four-year program. It's already aligned with the STEM Academy. So in order to really earn your STEM accreditation, so to speak, you have to be enrolled in science research for 4 years,
Right.
starting as a freshman.
Oh, so if you're enrolled in science research for 4 years, what does that get you?
Besides designation. You mean for the academy?
Right, yeah.
That's only part of it.
Okay.
You also need, in addition, you need your 4 years of science, you need your 4 years of math, 2 credits in technology. Of those 4 science credits, you need 2 AP courses. Of the 4 credits in math, you need 2 AP courses, 2 technology, there's missing one. And a capstone project or research paper or research project based on your 4 years of science research. So ultimately, it's 14 credits total to be part of the Science STEM Academy.
So very
But-
similar to what we do with business.
Very similar to business 5.5, with a capstone being the VE course. So the STEM,
So again, the academies came from the initial survey we did with kids, which we will continue to do each year. Because some of these things are mentioned, doesn't mean that they will be in the pipeline for the coming years. If students' needs or interests change, we'll be responsive to that. But again, you know, as we said earlier, we're looking to take the electives that we currently have. We have a very robust offering for our students, and just make sure that we're connecting those unconnected electives so that students have, you know, a more targeted kind of experience if they so choose to.
can I just have one more thing? I don't know if I articulated it well enough, or really got my point across. The example of the liberal studies that I gave is really what the academy is about. It's that concentration or minor for the kid who wants to try something different. This is not for all students. This is for a select group of students who want to look and do a concentration, or a quote-unquote minor in an area of interest. They still have to fulfill the regular requirements. If I'm a business-minded kid, a science-minded student, if I'm interested in computer technology, computer programming, cybersecurity, construction systems, the music and arts industry itself, right now we don't really offer a package for that. They still have to take all their courses, and whatever they can fit in elective, they fit in elective. This gives that student the opportunity to try something different. So this really targets more of our kids. More of our students will be more engaged in learning because this is a pathway that they want to take. You know, I don't want anyone to get caught up on the academy structure is for everyone and we're changing everything. It's not. It's for a small niche of students who want to have a concentration in an area of interest. And hopefully that concentration gets them more engaged, more involved in what we do here. So I mean, I don't know if I truly articulated that point when I'm trying to make the analogy of liberal studies and minor, but that's what it is. It's for the rest of the students who need something a additional or different than the regular role.
You know what I would find interesting, because I took some feedback on the business, that's been going on for 4 years, whatever it is, 5 years. How many of those kids went into business?
Wait, you gotta put your microphone on.
Sir,
So how many kids went to business
you're gonna get me
mind,
sick when you
went
use
into
my
business as a result of taking those courses?
But I would find that interesting, if you get some results. Would just be interesting, and also be interesting if I,
Actually, that's a good question,
my
Constance.
curiosity, what's going on with those tests, the medical tests that are there? How many students are taking them? That I would find interesting.
Yeah, I would like the information on the kids that went through the business, the business track. How many of them did go off to college and pursue further that business track? I'd be curious to know the answer.
Well,
Yeah, that should be a good thing too, yeah.
Been in existence for 4 years, they haven't graduated yet.
They're talking about the PE strips. Those kids who took PE, were they not pros?
All right, I'd like to thank Mr. Costa for his
Yes.
time.
I'll be calling you tomorrow, Mr. Costa,
Very
brilliant.
Look forward to it, adjusting it. Now we have 2 minutes.
Good night.
Good night.